It definitely boosts my confidence. And, I love also being able to cut my own hair on the sides too. I love fading my hair. And even as a kid, there was no better feeling than coming home after the barber shop and, you got a fresh fade going and all your friends are like, oh, dude, you look crispy. And so, yeah, it's nice to still be able to do that and to still experience that.
Welcome back to HairPod, the podcast where you get to hear real people share stories about their hair loss and how they got their hair back. Each journey is as unique as the next. Some may find their hair thinning earlier than others, but it's an experience that touches all of us eventually. Whether we experience hair loss ourselves or it happens to somebody close to us, to all our listeners out there grappling with hair loss, remember, you're not alone. Hair loss can start at any age, and even when you can see it coming, it can still be a bit of a shock. Today's guest is Jordan Pryor, a TikTok influencer who has been sharing his hair loss experience online for years. Jordan knew that he was definitely going to lose his hair at some point. Hair loss has affected many men in his family. What he didn't know was he would be only 17 years old when it started thinning out.
Pretty much every man in my family is bald, and most of them started balding at a very young age, early to mid 20s. I don't think that any man in my family has had their hair make it to 30. So definitely a genetics thing on my end.
When was it that you started noticing that this was probably going to be something that you were going to have to face?
So unfortunately for me, I started really early. It was my senior year of high school. I was 17 whenever I started to notice the corners of my hair starting to recede.
Okay. And how bad was it? And at what point did you feel like you needed to step in and do something about it?
So, I've, for the most part, growing up, I always kept my hair super short, always had kind of like a buzz cut. And so I was able to hold off for a couple of years, but, probably around 20, it started getting really bad. And so for about a year after that, I started shaving my head. But I looked significantly older than I actually was because I, had a clean shaved head and then a beard. So I looked like I was in my early 30s and not my early 20s. And then probably around 22, I believe, was whenever I started looking at getting a mint hairpiece.
Now, was there a certain moment that you started to realize that you were looking older with that? I believe you had somebody in your life that was about the same age as you, and they looked a little bit younger. In comparison to you, you looked a little bit older, and that kind of made you self-conscious.
Yeah. So it was always whenever I was shaving my head, it was whenever I go out on dates with my wife, because she has kind of a baby face. We both do, but whenever I was bald and, was kind of rocking it that way, I thought it looked good, but we would get some weird looks because, she was about 20, I was like 21, but I looked like I was 31 and she looked like she was 18. And so we'd get a lot of weird looks in public just because people were like, oh my gosh, that age gap. And I'm like, we're literally a year apart,
Right. That's a terrible feeling. So that was the point that really kind of drove you. Now, for a lot of people too that start to lose their hair, I was about the age of 25 and I saw a photo and I noticed that I had a bald spot. I hated the look. It was something that made me very self-conscious. But for me, I didn't really know where to go. And it took quite some time before I was able to find Hair Club. For you, where did you turn when you started to lose this? Because it's not typically something, especially when you were your age at 22, that you're hanging out with your buddies saying, hey, man, where do I go for hair loss? Where did you even start to look to try to resolve your problem?
Yeah, that's definitely not a conversation I was having with my friends at that time. It was more my friends giving me a hard time about looking like a grandpa, was their exact words. But I mean, early on, I tried some of the early remedy stuff, your what is that? Finasteride, minoxidil. I did Propecia, Rogaine. I tried everything early on to catch it before it got bad. And then I was scrolling on, I want to say it was like Facebook. And I saw a video of a barber in my area who was doing men's hair units. And so I reached out to him, got it done there a couple of times. And then shortly afterwards, I moved to Colorado. And it was once I was up in Colorado that I started going to Hair Club. And honestly, the quality even took up an extra step and it was incredible.
Now, Now, one of the things I noticed immediately when I started talking to Jordan was how confident he is. There's a stigma around hair loss in our culture, and because of people like Jordan, that stigma is starting to break down. More and more people are feeling comfortable talking about hair loss with their friends and with their family members, and people like Jordan are leading the way.
I had a video that went viral on TikTok where I was doing like a Q&A thing, and someone had commented about how my hairline was super crispy. And in the follow-up
super crispy.
Yeah, super crispy. You know, like it was like nice and straight on the sides, you know.
Okay.
My fade was a lot better than it is right now. And I, flipped up the hairpiece, was like, oh, well, that's funny that you say that. Like it's fake, because I've never been one to shy away from making people laugh or anything like that. Like I don't care that people know that, I don't have real hair, so to speak. But then shortly after that, once it went viral, Hair Club reached out to me and they're like, hey, we love your vibe. We love your attitude. Would you like to come in and, take a look at our product? And so I did. And I was just blown away.
Mm-hmm. What was it that you noticed? I mean, what was the difference between stepping up, going to Hair Club as to what you had before?
It was definitely the color matching. There's a little bit of a reddish tint in my hair that I feel like a lot of the smaller barbershops didn't quite have. Whereas whenever I went into Hair Club, they have this system where they match your hair to a T. And so, especially like during the summer, my hair does get a little bit lighter. And so they were able to accommodate for that, which was really cool. And so it blended perfectly.
Now, many guys I've talked to are pretty sensitive about their hair loss. Going from a completely shaved head to a full head of hair draws this attention that most people don't want to talk about or they don't want people to notice. Jordan's ability to embrace the situation and his new look made that transition easy for him.
Yeah, so that was kind of the unfortunate route that I had to go, but there's not a ton of bald pictures of me out there, thankfully.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I really did just show up one day and just had all of my hair back, and my friends were like, how? Because I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them what I was doing, where I was going. They were just like, because they'd given me such a hard time for years about it, and then it was just like one day they're like, "Wow, your hair looks better than mine." I was like, "Yeah, it does." I do just want to say real quick with what you were talking about. Part of the reason why I think I'm so open with it is I do have an individual in my family who has had a toupee or a men's hair piece rather, since he was 25. And so it's never really been a taboo thing in my family. But yeah, for folks who might be listening, I would definitely suggest starting off young. And while you're early into the hair loss process, if that's the route that you're wanting to go, because it is easier to show up with, just like you were saying, just a little bit more hair at a time versus what I did going bald and then full head of hair.
Jordan isn't the kind of guy to let his hair loss slow him down, and wearing his hair system doesn't stop him from living his life either.
Honestly, I forget that I'm wearing it a lot of the time. It's normally not until because I do my own, part of my TikTok channel is doing like my own maintenance at home under the hood, so to speak. And really, until it's time for me to do that, I don't even notice that I'm wearing one. Because it breathes great. I work out very frequently. I'm currently in the process of doing P90X. And,
no way. Okay, that's a challenge.
Yeah. It's been a throwback. It's weird seeing those old DVDs, but it's been great. And I was dripping in sweat after these workouts, and my hair's still on top of my head. It's not sliding off. It doesn't fly off in the wind or anything like that. In May, we were at a pool party in New Mexico, and I jumped into the pool like 30 times and, was swimming around and splashing with people and everything. And there was never a moment where I thought that it was going to fall off. I mean, anytime you come out of the water, your hair is always all messed up and, you just shake it off, throw it to the side a little bit and you're good to go.
For most of us, hair loss and finding a solution that works for us is about more than just hair. It's a journey of self-esteem and confidence. For Jordan, it's also about the experiences that are still a part of his life. It
definitely boosts my confidence. And, I love also being able to like cut my own hair on the sides too. Like I love fading my hair. And even as a kid, like there was no better feeling than coming home after the barber shop and you got a fresh fade going and all your friends are like, oh, dude, you look crispy. And so, yeah, it's nice to still be able to do that and to still experience that. And, I do a lot of presentations and stuff for work. And so I'm constantly in front of people and I oftentimes get compliments on how nice my hair is. And it just makes me laugh whenever I hear it,
It's a great feeling though, right?
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
It was so great talking to Jordan about his experience with hair loss. His confidence and his willingness to share his story is helping to break down the stigma of how hair loss is treated in our society. I just hope that in the future, we're all going to feel just as self-assured as Jordan, tackling a difficult topic with our friends, families, and communities. Thanks for listening to another episode of HairPod. If you think Jordan's story would resonate with somebody you know, share this episode with them. And check out our show notes if you'd like to connect with us or Jordan on social media. Until next time.